The topic this week again is about um, what we're looking forward to as far as new technology and stuff next year. Now, we said from the very beginning that Greg and I are both we're Apple guys. We love the we're both in the Apple ecosystem, and the show is going to be geared towards Apple products and services and news and things like that. So with a little more technology and stuff sprinkled in here and there. So, Greg, I can think back to when I said that I was all in. I was going to focus on Apple and basically put Apple first. And I mentioned last week when I got my first MacBook Air, when I saw Steve Jobs come out on stage and pull a MacBook Air, and we both had those iPods and the video iPods, and of course the phone came out. It was a game changer, and everyone loved the phone. The iPad to me was a revolutionary device. I loved it. But I think for me, when I think back to when I said Apple is who I'm going with, I'm never going to buy another PC. I'm never going to, personally, we had to work with these things at work and stuff, but I'm never going to focus on multiple platforms. I'm just going to do Apple. I'm going to put Apple first. For me, I think it was around the time when they got serious about iCloud. And again, iCloud was nothing like it is now, right? We're talking about just what contacts, calendar. You can view your photos and stuff online, and that was cool enough for me to say iCloud is the way to go, right? It was a pretty stripped down version of cloud services that we had at the time, but now they've improved to add things like private relay and messages in the cloud, and iCloud is really involved to be where we kind of where we want it to be, and there's still room to improve. But for me, at least, that introduction to iCloud is when I said that, hey, I'm going all in on Apple. So tell us, for this week's story time, do you remember when you said you were going to go all in on Apple, or was there not one single like event or service or product that came out that can you remember any time like that?
Yeah, I mean, so when they came out with the iPhone, I was on Verizon, and I hadn't
Right,
started working at Stewart yet. So
right.
I was on Verizon, and I couldn't get one because it was AT&T exclusive here in the U.S.
It
Right.
was. It was. Yeah.
So I was kind of bummed about that. But then shortly thereafter, they announced the iPod Touch, and I went,
Yeah.
"Oh, okay." So
Yeah.
and I
This is
got
going to
the
be a thing
iPod
with them.
Touch. Yeah, yeah. So I got the iPod Touch. So I think that was probably step one. Step two probably was when I switched to AT&T after I started working at Stewart, and we were going to roll out iPhones to the enterprise. So I switched
Yeah.
and got an iPhone. 3GS was my first 3G or
Hmm.
3GS. One of those two was my first iPhone. So it was a little ways in. Um, so that was a transition point, and then I think the final one was when they made the iPad good enough that it could replace my laptop for
Right.
most things, right? And remember, by the
Right.
time I left Stewart, I was 100% working on an iPad. And
Yes.
in fact, one of my funnest stories is I actually went out to Seattle to one of our tech partners out there, and they were introducing a new product in the industry. And I sat down at this table with the product managers, and they're like, okay, well, we want you to log in and work on this. And I pulled out my iPad, and they're like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, no, I'm
Like, what
working
is
on an
that?
iPad. Really? Yeah. So they thought that was pretty cool. Funny thing is,
Right.
I ended up working for that company and with that team, after that. So anyway, so I think those were the big transitions that told me, yeah, the Apple stuff. And then I think you'll probably agree with this one, is the more we
Hmm.
get into scary world, hackers and phishing and
Right.
all of that
Right.
kind of stuff, it's just, I don't want to mess around with stuff. It's one of the reasons why I struggle a bit with the Mac is there's more opportunities for issues on the Mac,
Yes.
right? Versus the iPhone. So, um, yeah, I mean, those are the things. I don't see me going with anything else ever again, partially because I've moved beyond I want to play with every different tech out there. Now, I will tell you that OnePlus, I think it's OnePlus, has that new foldable.
Hmm.
That makes it really, really hard. I just want that running
You
iOS
really want
because
to, yeah. You really want a folded phone.
I really don't want to fiddle, and it looks really good. I mean, it looks like a quality Apple product, right? But I don't want to fiddle
Right.
around with these operating systems that I have to worry about. So that's the
Yeah.
thing. Mine was more of a journey. I don't think it was that one moment, but I'm definitely all in
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, yeah. So, and you mentioned another thing too that contributed to my to my shifting towards Apple was the security, right? Again, we work with Windows, so we did desktop support and all of that, and man, that was just viruses and even managing these virus removal tools and the subscriptions and making sure that they ran on a regular basis and stuff. I got so tired of that. Now I know there's still a bit of that on the Mac because these hackers and stuff, they know that these devices are out there, and I know in the future that it's coming to iOS and all of that, right? These developers and stuff, they're getting more sneaky, they're trying to bypass Apple security and all of that. So I know it's coming. Nothing's 100% safe or foolproof, but it was just less of a concern when
Yeah,
I switched to Mac OS and iOS. And again, there's still plenty to be concerned about, but not as
yeah,
much as being in the same or connecting to a public Wi-Fi or something on a Windows computer. I mean, you're really risking a lot, so it was pretty dangerous, um, using other operating systems. But
right.
yeah, that was another thing that causes that shift.